Hello everyone, today I want to show you how to make this diamonds beaded bracelet, and this is what it looks like. So when you're looking at it from this angle, you kind of have these diamonds lying right next to each other and connected in the middle there as well, and you also have these mini diamonds within each diamond made up of smaller beads. So this is what it looks like. It gives a really nice impact depending what materials that you use, and it's quite a simple technique really. So if you want to learn how to make this bracelet, then keep watching. So these are the materials that we're going to need. Now first of all here, the beads that I'm using are two different sizes and kinds as well. These ones are kind of the main beads. These are 8mm rounds, and I'm just using a kind of purple magenta coloured quartz, so a gemstone. And then these ones are 3mm metal spacer beads, and I'm just using a copper colour because I thought they would work really nicely with the colour of my gemstones there. You can obviously use whatever beads you want to, just as long as they're these sizes. And then the stringy material that I'm using here is some monofilament or some fishing line. It's both the same really. So what I wanted to do was use a threading material that will be ideally clear so I wouldn't really be able to see it. But I want it to be strong but at the same time quite flexible. So this would be ideal for that because it needs to be strong enough to carry, say, the big beads here, especially because the gemstones, they weigh a bit more. So strong enough but at the same time still flexible so the bracelet has a nice movement to it. And you can get this in different diameters and strengths as well. Now what you use is completely up to you really, and also dependent on the materials that you use. So say if you're using beads that have quite large holes, you can get away with using a thicker diameter one or a heavier weight one. But if they're quite small holes in your beads, you might want to use a thinner one. And then to finish off the bracelet, I'm using these little wire protectors, also in copper to match my beads. They're also called wire guardians, so you can find them under a few different names. It gives a really nice and professional finish, and also helps to keep your threading material nice and safe as well, so it's less likely to snap. And then I'm just using some jump rings, a lobster claw clasp and extender chain to finish it off and make it a nice finish, and also make it adjustable. You can obviously use whatever clasp you want to. So we'll need to get all the materials together here, and then let's get started. So I then got some of my beads ready here, and then I've also cut a length of my monofilament that we're going to be using. Now how long you need this to be, it really depends on how long you want your bracelet to be, but what I would say is cut about a full wingspan, that should be fine. And then what we need to do is start making our first little section there. So what I'm going to start with is add one of my 8mm, and then I'm going to add one of my 3mm beads here, another 8mm, and basically we're going to keep doing this, so keep alternating the two beads, one large, one small, another large, and another small. So 8mm, 3mm, 8mm, 3mm, and I've got my final 8mm like that, and then we need to add the final 3mm as well. And then what we have is 4 of each alternating from each other. So I'm going to bring these all the way down to one end, making sure they don't fall off the end there. I'm going to leave just a bit of a tail just also to help hold on to. And then what we want to do is go back through some of these beads. So I'm going to take the end that I'm working with, go back through the very first one, so that's the large one. So you can see we started with a large one, we ended with a small one. So once we bring this together, it's going to be one continuous circle there. I'm going to go back through the first large one, first 8mm, and then we also want to go through the first 3mm. So basically the first two beads, just need to find the hole here, go through that, make sure you have that bit of a tail, and then we need to pull it so it becomes that continuous circle. So it's just a little bit fiddly to begin with because obviously the beads are still loose, but then we have this. So there we go, and you can use on the tail, you could always wrap it around your fingers a little bit, it's going to help hold on to the piece. So there we go. So you now have that continuous circle alternating between the beads. So now what I want to do is we're exiting out of that 3mm bead, And that's what we then want to add some embellishment onto now. So I'm coming out of that in that direction. I then want to add another 3 of my 3mm beads onto my monofilament. So just 3 right after each other, 2, and the last one like this, because what we want in total is 4 right by each other here, so kind of like a little cluster of 4. You can bring that all the way down, and then we need to go back through the one that's already incorporated into that kind of circle or square that we've already done. That means the one that we're actually coming out of, and we need to go through it in the same direction that we're coming through it already, like that. And then you pull this tight, so that brings all these new beads, the 3 beads you just added, all the way up to the one that we're going through, and it's going to make another little square right on the edge there. Give it a nice little detail. So after that we need to go through the next large bead, just in the direction that your monofilament is going. Through that, and if you can, at the same time also go through the next 3mm bead. If you can't go through them at the same time, you can always just do 1 bead at a time. Sometimes it'll let you and sometimes it won't. It really all depends on the beads and the path. So there we go, went through both of them. Pull your monofilament all the way through, and then we're at the next little 3mm bead, and we need to do the exact same thing now. So grab the end again, so we can add our next 3 beads of the 3mm beads. So same thing, add 3 in a row. One, 2, and the last one like that. And we're going to do the exact same thing now. Coming out of that bead there, the 3mm bead, we need to go through the same one in the same direction that we're already going through. And then come out the other side of the bead, and you just want to pull this all the way through. So those 3 new beads that we just added get brought up all the way to the one that we're coming out of, and we have made another little square or diamond right there. And then basically we're going to keep doing this all the way around it. So just go through the next 2 beads, the big one and the next small one, make a square, the big one, the next small one, make a square there. And then once you've done that all the way around, I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. So I now continued all the way around here until I'm coming out of the very last 3mm bead that I just did my last diamond or square on there. So now what I want to do is make my way up to the next point where we want to move on to make the next little section. That's going to be the same as this. So I'm just going to go straight through my next large bead, and again we also need to come through the next bead, so the 3mm after this. But like I said, sometimes it will let you go straight through, it automatically goes through that as well, and sometimes you just have to do them one at a time. I'm just going to have to go through that one on its own, and then this one going through the next 3mm, and this one then went straight through the next 8mm as well, which is fine because we want to go through that as well. So like I said, sometimes it kind of dictates to you how many you can go through at a time. Coming out of that 8mm, I also want to go through the next 3mm here to come to this next corner, you could say, of these mini diamonds or mini squares within the bigger one, within the main one. So there, now I've got my tails of thread also on each side of it. It just makes it a bit easier to hold on to with the tail there. So now I want to get ready and in position to then be able to make my next little section that's going to be the same here, but they're going to be connected. So to do that, I need to come through this little diamond or square that I'm right now exiting out of the inner one out of them. So what you want to do when you're beading here, you want to kind of follow your thread path. That means I'm going to go through the 3mm on the side. I just need to get the right one there. Go through the 3mm on the side, right by where your monofilament is coming out from. You might need to you can maneuver your beads a little bit, push them out of the way to try and get to the holes so you can get through it. There. Pull it all the way through. And I like also when I'm pulling my thread through, I like to kind of hold my fingers onto it. It keeps it in place, but also it more prevents me from pulling it out of my hand. Then I want to go through the next 3 mil again, so kind of the outer one, the point of this little diamond. Go through that. And then pull the monofilament all the way through again. Because then we'll get to this point. And also what you want to make sure of now is that this little section that we've just done is nice and tight. You don't want to have any of your monofilament showing through. So in between the beads there, say the large bead and the next small one, you don't want to place where you've got a big gap or anything. You want to make sure it's tight, and you want to make sure that throughout as well. So now we need to move on to the next section, and for that we then also need to add some more of the large beads. So I'm coming out of that tip of the 3 mil bead there, out of kind of that diamond that we've made. The next bead I'm then going to add, because we're alternating them, it has to be one of the big ones. So one of the 8 mil, and then another 3 mil, another 8 mil, and I've got them right here. They need to use another 3 mil. Again, just like the beginning, we're alternating between the large and the big, and the large and the small ones. Another 8 mil, another 3 mil. So for each section you could kind of say, this is one section, we're now making the next section. We need to use 4 of our 8 mil beads. And then the last 8 mil. So that means, I'm just going to show you what I have here then. I now have 4 of my large 8 mil separated with 3 of my small 3 mil, one in between each. Now in the beginning here we had 4 of each, and we actually have that here as well, because that one we're coming out of is actually the very first of the 3 mil for this section, because we're going to come back around, bring this together. So we're only adding 3 from now on of the small ones for every section, because I now need to come back through the same one that I'm exiting out of in the same direction as well. As you can see right there, pull this all the way through, and then once you pull it up, it's going to end up sitting just like that, and you can see the continuation from that previous section. And then that bead we just went through is the 4th one out of that section. So that's what connects them here. So now to continue, we're going to basically be doing the exact same thing in this section that I did down here. We want to add those little embellishment extra kind of diamonds within the big diamond. So that means I'm going to go through, back through the first 8 mil that we added in the direction that the monofilament is naturally going, in this new section that we're making now there. And I also need to come through the next 3 mil, because this is where we need to add our kind of first mini diamond in this section here. Make sure you pull it tight, so again you don't have any gaps anywhere, any thread monofilament showing. Now we want to add our first mini diamond, apart from the one obviously that's connected the 2 sections together. This is the first one out of the new ones. So add 3 of your 3 mil, and then we need to come back through the same bead that we're coming out of, so back through the same 3 mil here in the same direction, and like that, pull it all the way. And sometimes what can help as well, instead of pulling, when you do these mini diamonds, instead of just pulling that tight straight away, you can just leave a little loop, and before you pull it tight, just pull on the end that's coming out of the bead before you then pull the long tail tight, because that just tightens up this whole section. There we go. It's the first one. Go through the large bead again, out to the next 3 mil bead, and that one's wanting to come through the next large one, but we don't want that, so you just want to maneuver it, maneuver the bead so it will just come out after the 3 mil bead. So there we go, pull it all the way through. And now we're at the next place where we need to add the next mini diamond. And then basically you want to keep doing this. This is going to be the second section. You go, this one you make a mini diamond, go through the next large bead, make a mini diamond up here, and then we've completed this section. It's going to look the same as the first one. What we then want to do is travel all the way around following the thread path, So through large bead, the small bead, the 3mm bead there, that's the point that connects the two sections together. The next large bead, through this 3mm bead, the next large one, and then we're coming back out up here. And then you want to basically keep repeating the same thing, because that's where I then showed you how to make this one. And also we then needed to just go through it, following the thread path, going around so you get to the very tip of it, and then you start making the next section. So you want to keep doing this until you reach the length that you want it to be. And then once you've done that, I'm going to show you what we're going to do from then, because it'll still be then a little bit loose and wobbly. So what we want to do is secure it a bit more and make it a bit more wearable as well. So I now kept going here, adding my sections. You can see these little diamond sections that are then connected through that diamond in the middle. And then I've ended up coming out from the point of the diamond here, that will be in the middle, where I would then get ready to do another section if that's what was going to. But instead of doing that, I now want to finish it off. So finish off this end first of all. We're still using the same length. So this is where we then want to start using our wire protectors here as well. So the wire guardians. And what I'm going to do is I'm coming out from this very last bead, that 3mm bead here, the very tip. And all I'm going to do from that is these wire guardians, they have a hole on each side on the bottom there, and then they have kind of a little well on top. So I'm going to go through one side from the bottom and then pull it through, and then I'm going to go down through the other side but from the top. And that's how you use these to finish off the ends nicely. I'm not going to add anything just yet. Make sure that whatever your threading material here, your monofilament, is going to land inside of that little well. So, because then what I'm going to do is use jump rings afterwards to attach the actual clasp. So that's going to end up sitting right down here at the very end of that last bead. So what I want to do then is take my length of monofilament. It's coming out on the other side of that wire guardian there, wire protector. So what I want to do is come back through the same bead that I was coming out of, so that 3mm right at the tip, in the same direction. So straight through it like that. Pull everything through, and then when you pull it tight, the wire protector is going to sit just nicely right there at the end. And you're going to be able to use that to finish off with the clasp as well. Now, right now we only have one length of monofilament going through this. I want to kind of double secure it and make sure I have another one going through. So what I'm going to do is use this little diamond right here with the 3mm beads as my path. So I'm going to go down through the next one on the side here. Keep following your thread path, and then come through the one on the bottom here again. And just that one, we're not going through the larger beads now, it's just through these little 3mm. Again, up the other side. So we're basically just gone one way around all these 3mm beads right at the end here. So just follow the path, and you can just help bend your piece wherever you need to kind of make the holes in the beads a bit more available to go through. So there, almost all the way, and they'll go back through the very tip one again, so the very outer one more time. Just go straight down through it like that, because then what I want to do while I'm here, to make sure I secure this an extra time, I want to reinforce it a bit more, I'm going to go through this wire protector again. So just come straight up through the same side as you did when you attached it in the first place. And this just ensures that you're going through it at least twice, so it gives it that extra security for durability long term wise. Go down through the other side. And then just come out here. And then you've attached your wire protector on this end. Like this. Just pull it all the way through. So again, that length now also is going to sit inside the well there, right on the top. So now that you have this, you've now attached the wire protector on this end nice and securely. So now that we've done that, what we need to do now is I want to go back through my bracelet and secure it a bit more, because you might be able to see here some of the mini diamonds, you can kind of say that's made up with the 3mm ones. Some of them might be a little bit pointing in one direction and not sitting quite right. So I want to fix that now. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, we need to just come through this diamond on the end again to get in the right position. So follow your thread path one more time. Basically go around just like we did before, except not all the way. So just find your way here, just got to get through. Again, bring this through. And pull it nice and tight so you know this wire protector sits nice and straight, just how you want it to. And then go down through the side one again. Right now we're just working our way towards the other side. Just like that. Just make sure it doesn't loop around anything you don't want it to. So there we go. So to do that extra reinforcement, like I said, what we want to do now is actually start going away from the thread path. So like I said, usually, most of the time, what you want to make sure to do when you do beading is you want to follow your thread path so you don't end up with thread showing where you don't want it to. But right now, what I actually want to do is kind of go a little bit away from that. So it's coming out from that side one here. So instead of going around to the other side to follow the actual original thread path, what I'm going to do is go straight down to my larger bead here. So I'm coming from the side one and going straight down into that, instead of going through the little one in the middle there, where the original thread path would be. And then to come out on the other side, you can always just push down your little diamond of the 3mm ones there. It helps clear the hole to get out easier. Pull it all the way through, because this is going to really help secure it in place and make it stronger, but it also helps straighten out these little mini diamonds on the edge there. So now that I'm here, what I want to do, you can always flip it around to make it easier to work with. And again, here, if we follow the thread path, what we would do is go from this large bead through the little one on the inside, right there in the middle, and then come through the outside in this kind of diamond shape or square pattern, back through that middle one, and then through to the larger one. We're not doing that. What we're actually doing is going straight from that larger bead straight up out to the side one in this diamond. So we're actually breaking the thread path here, skipping straight up to the side one. This helps secure it and straighten out if any of these diamonds, mini diamonds on the side are a little bit wonky. Then go to the point of the middle one there, and then come down on the other side of the mini diamond, straight through that, and then we need to go through the larger bead as well. Now sometimes it will let you go straight through both of them, because it's a little bit, it's kind of almost the way that the path it wants to go, but sometimes it won't, so you have to do one at a time. But I managed to go straight through both of them here, and again I'm going from that side bead straight down through the large bead and skipping actually that middle one. So now that I'm coming out of that large bead on the other side of it, to skip the thread path again, we would go around in this diamond to come back around, but to avoid that and make it more secure, I'm going to go straight through the side one here and pull my monofilament all the way through, just like that, and then go straight to the next large one and up to the pointed one again, so the mini diamond on the other side of this large bead, come out on the other side, and then you want to go straight through and see where my end is coming out. You want to go through, again breaking the thread path, and just go to the side one and then around the outside of the mini diamonds here. And that's basically what I want to do all the way down through this side of the bracelet to the other end. You want to do the exact same here as we did on the other side. So attach that wire protector on that end as well. Go through it twice at least. Down through the other side, do the exact same thing that I'm showing you here to reinforce the side. And then once you've done this, all that's left to do, your bracelet will be much more secure, and then all that's left to do is actually finish it off by tying off knots. So I now kept going here all the way around doing the same thing, so reinforcing the side, going all the way to the other end where I then attach the other wire protector, and then back up the other side as well. And then I've ended up on this end again, and then basically this is then the main part done, and we reinforced it as well. All that's left to do now is finish off the lengths of a monofilament, because obviously they're just kind of coming out and hanging out on each end there. I have one tail on this end, and then the other tail is on the other end. So we're going to finish them both off in the same way, and what we're going to do is knot them off basically. And whatever length you have left, I recommend using really as much as you can. So this length that I have here, I'll be going all the way up one side of the bracelet and then tying knots on the other end. I'm going to use this length of the tail that I had left and just go up the other side, just so we fill up both sides here with knots and make it nice and secure. But here, down here, I'm just going to show you there, I'm coming out from the little 3mm bead on the side there, so the one out to this side. So basically, to continue, I would not follow the original thread path to make that little diamond, but I'll be going into the large bead here from this side 3mm into the large one. And before I do that, I actually then want to start tying knots, because everything else is in place. So this is probably going to be a little bit hard to see, but what you'll find is, because of the way we've now gone around reinforcing it like I just explained to you, where we didn't follow the original thread path, what you'll find you have is you've actually got your monofilament coming through the large beads and through the bottom bead there, but then you also have a length of monofilament coming from the side beads of the mini diamond into the large one, and then also between the two 3mm beads in the mini diamond here on that side. So basically you have a little triangle of thread going between these three beads. So what you want to do when you're making your knots now, you want to be careful how you make them, because we're going to be going around some of the thread that's already in the piece and tying knots around it. But because we have that triangle of thread there, you don't want to go just in through the middle of the bracelet on this section there and then tying up, because then you'll be tying it around multiple lengths of your monofilament that's already in there. So what you actually want to do, in this case I'm coming out from that 3mm bead, you want to go up in the middle of that little triangle of thread that you have. So that means basically in between the large one and the two 3mm ones that are right next to it, because that's where that little triangle of thread is. So I want to go through that, and then before I pull it tight, we just leave a little loop here, because that's what we're going to use to make the knot. So I've got my little loop of monofilament without pulling it all the way through, but I've still got my tail here coming out the other side up through that little triangle of thread. And then all I'm going to do is take the end and go through that loop, and I want to go through it twice to make it just a bit extra secure instead of just once. And then you want to pull this down. This is basically the knot then. You want to make sure it lands in the right place, so in between the two beads, the one you're coming out of and the one you would go into next. Then as you pull it down, that knot is going to get pulled all the way down there and tie around that length of monofilament going in between those two beads that are connecting them basically. And then you might be able to see that you can see a knot right now because it's lying in between the two beads. So what I'm then going to do is take my length of monofilament, keep going in the direction that it was meant to go originally before we tied the knot. That means I'm going to go through my large bead here, just get my end through it, go up the other side there, and then pull it all the way through. And then when I pull it through, it'll either do it by itself, or if not, you want to just give it a little tug, and then that pulls the knot that we just made actually inside of that bead. So when you look through and really thoroughly down there, you won't actually be able to see it in between the beads now, because it's been pulled into the large bead. And that's how we actually get rid of the knots, so you won't be able to see them, but they're still there, so it's nice and secure. And you basically want to just keep going like this Now it depends what kind of beads you've used, will then depend on the holes in your beads where you can tie your knots. Now my 3mm ones here, the metal spacer beads, so the holes in them are quite large, so I can easily also tie a knot here. And here it's the same principle, you have that little triangle of thread in between the large one and the two 3mm next to it that I want to come up in the middle of that triangle. So I can tie a knot here because the holes in my 3mm beads are quite large, and I know when I pull the knot in it, the knot will actually go inside of that bead. So I just tie my knot again, make sure that all the monofilament is pulled in the right place, so the knot is going to fall just in between those beads there. Pull it tight all the way down, and then I'm just going to follow the path to the next bead. I'm going to go through my 3mm bead here. You might just have to pull your knot a little bit out of the way so you can get through it. Just got to maneuver it. There we go. Come up the other side. And then as I pull it through, I know this knot will actually go inside of this 3mm bead. But if your holes aren't large enough in the 3mm beads to do that, what you can just do is go around those mini diamonds, and then when you get to the larger beads, that when you can tie your knots ahead in front of the larger beads and just tie your knots there. So every time you reach a larger bead, you can tie a knot there. Or if your holes in the small beads are large enough, just do it there as well. Wherever you feel you can fit in your knots, and then pull them into the bead so it's going to disappear basically. So that's how you tie off the ends of your monofilament. Keep doing this. I'd recommend doing it all the way, basically maybe until you run out of your monofilament, or at least all the way down the side of the bracelet. Then the other end, you start off with this end, do the exact same thing, start tying off your knots here, and then just keep going up that side. And then all you have to do when you've tied all your knots is you want to cut off the excess, if you have any excess left here obviously. Don't do it right next to a knot. Once you've made your last knot, just make sure to go through another couple of beads and then cut off the excess. And then do that on both ends. Once you've done that, you'll then have your finished bracelet, the main part. Then all that's left to do is attach whatever findings you want to use. So I've got my clasp and extended chain that I want to attach using jump rings here onto those wire protectors. And that's all I'm going to do, and when I've done that, the bracelet will be completely done then. So I now finished it off completely here. I got rid of the excess monofilament and then also attached my clasp. So the extended chain and then the lobster claw clasp on the other end. And this is what it looks like. So it's a really kind of simple technique, but it gives a really nice impact, especially depending on what beads that you use. I think these colours go really nicely together and it really gives a nice impact. So that's what it looks like. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you very much for watching. Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this heart patterned beaded bracelet, and in this case I've just used gemstones because I had some that I thought would work perfectly. They had the perfect size together, and then they would make a nice colour combination here for the pattern that I wanted. It looks like this. So it's got a really nice feel to it and it falls really nicely. And then also in the end I finished it off with multi-strand connectors here that I made myself. You can then attach extended chain